Vidyuu! Okay, welcome back to part 3. Bye, Vidyuu! We got Euphoria. Oh, whoa, such a crazy trip, and I love your shirt. Okay, Euphoria's here. Vidyuu's here. Atsulate's here. I'm Lakes05, and today we are jumping right back in, and we're going to work on how to make it so that people who leave the world cause the game to end early. So to get us started, we're going to actually create a end game early script, which is this one here. So we need to figure out all the things that need to be tied into to end the game early. And so rather than trying to do this on what... let me back up a quick second. When we left last time, the group of us, we got together and thought about what scripts we still needed. So we needed the gun script, which was underway. We needed the knife script. We needed the front door escape lock mechanism script. We needed player status manager. So rather than doing a player manager that does way too much, we made our current player manager the player lobby manager, since it's managing the lobby as you enter. And the player status manager is going to check all the player status. It's going to see if people are still online. Are they alive? Are they dead? All that fun stuff. I was like, am I supposed to say unalive? I don't think YouTube cares. I just learned about the word unalive recently, so that's a new one for me. End game early is the script that we're going to be using to call all of the things, all the events. And so we're going to send them out as a blast when we receive an event here. So let's go ahead and start by bringing the when event is received, and we're going to call this event end game. So boom, end game. So when end game is received, we're going to cause a bunch of things to happen. So the first thing I think we need to do is we need to tie into the timer, which might be the only thing we need to tie into at this point. So this is the, what do we call it? We called it the game loop. So we'll call this game loop manager. And the world is coming along quite nicely. I thought we'd quickly take a look at the building and say, wow, isn't this beautiful? Yes, it is. Great job. Oh, love your glasses. He's got Ray-Bans on, bro. What? That's cool. I didn't know. That's so cool. Unfortunately, though, I'm getting quite a bit of lag right now. So we're going to actually delete this. And we're going to bring in the non-laggy version later on. So, Euphoria, if you wouldn't mind deleting everything except for the floor plan inside the house and maybe some kind of basic shapes, just get rid of as much as we can. That should hopefully reduce the lag. Maybe even deleting our light source will delete the lag. Maybe even deleting the dynamic lights here, because we don't really need those. But yeah, anything we can do right now to kind of reduce and help smooth this out, because I'm definitely feeling the frames dropping right now. I also know that if you are on a Quest Pro and you are getting frame drops, you can turn off your face tracking, which I don't like to do, but I might consider doing that. Natural expressions off, eye tracking off, and now the cameras aren't sensing my face. And since we've been so loud, reset the video and we'll restart. And like that, our frames are getting a lot better. And so let's go ahead into our end game early script. We're going to delete the when world is started. We've got when end game is received. And now we need to tell the game loop manager that the game is over. So we're going to go ahead and send an event to the game loop manager. And this is a pretty simple event to send. It's going to be called end game. And so then we need to go to our game loop manager and set it up so that it can end the game early. So we're going to go in here. And we can see, what do we do to end the game early? I think all we have to do is set the clock to 0, and that would end the game early. There might be another way to do it, which is if we look at the ready up phase. So when start failed is received, we set is ready up to true. We set clock to ready up time, and that works pretty well. So maybe we should do that. So we'll say when event end game is received, we're then going to set is ready up phase to true, set clock to ready up time. And I'm realizing we have this probably in a couple places, so it might be, no, we're going to leave it as is. This is fine. So when end game is received, we do this, and then it should automatically take over, but maybe we'll send timer loop to self, which should clear out the previous one. We're going to move end game to the very bottom here, because it's the last thing to happen before we loop. And that should cause the loop to go off. Now we need a way to end the game early. And so to do that, we've now got to receive this, but we don't have anything running this script. And so we've decided to use the raycast gizmo as our script holder. So if we open up the properties panel here, and we believe that this is going to be the most efficient since raycasts would only be firing when they are called upon. So theoretically, this isn't going to cause any lag to use. I'm probably wrong though, and eventually I'll change my mind again, but that's okay. For today, this is the one we're going with. So we're going to attach the end game early script. We need to reference the game loop manager, which we'll remember is running on the text object over here. So we're going to go ahead and delete this text object here. Or excuse me, not delete, but we're going to bring it over and then drag that into the empty pill slot. Fantastic. Okay, with all of that referenced, we can then move this right onto here. And now our end game early script, which is related to the game loop manager. Oh, Galactic, you can switch back into your own body. You don't have to stay as Vidyuu.
Oh, yeah. Cool. I'll be right back.
Okay. Bye, Vidyuu.
Bye.
And so now that we've got, so in-game early related to game loop manager, player status manager is related to the player lobby manager, hence they are organized like this. That was the idea behind that. So the player status manager is the right place to connect to the end game early. Now, normally I'd want to try like maybe setting an event with a delay on end game early so we could test it out first. But because there's so many things tied in here, I'm going to create a very basic player detection of leaving the world causes game to end early on the player status manager. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the variables tab and create a new object variable, which is going to reference to the end game early manager. So we'll call it the end game manager and press confirm. And so we're going to delete this. And now what we're going to say is when an event is received, and this will be called who's playing, which I probably can't include an apostrophe, but that'll probably delete automatically. Who's playing? Press confirm. There we go. Now that's going to be received with first a player value that is called the sheriff. So you remember this is the code that we already wrote. And then we're going to receive after the sheriff a list of players, which is the murderers. And murderers. And then press confirm. And then we're also going to receive a list of the innocent. Innocent. I don't know if that's right. I don't know how to spell anymore. I wish we had spell check in here. I'm like, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. Oh, goodness. INNOCENT? That innocent? Thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm losing my mind. Okay, so who's playing is going to be received with these player variables. We're going to need variables to reference these. So we're going to create an object, or excuse me, a player list. We're going to start with a non-player list. This one will be called current sheriff. So CURSHERRIF, current sheriff. And I spelled sheriff wrong. I'm usually not that bad at spelling.
Sheriff is 2 Fs, yeah.
Yeah, we good. Player list next is going to be called current murderers. Murderers. Press confirm. And we're going to go and create another player list called current innocent. Innocent. We'll add an S because it's multiple. Okay, so then when we receive the who's playing, we know that a new game has started, so we can clear out the previous list by just setting these values to be these values. And I'm going to reorganize them so they're in the same order. We'll drag sheriff to be the current sheriff. We drag murderers to be the current murderers. We set current innocent to be innocent. And so now that we have saved these variables, it actually clears out the previous list and the previous values that were stored here, which is fine. We can then say when event is received, which is going to be called who's playing as well. And who's playing when it's received with a single player value. You remember this from last time. This is going to be a new innocent. So I'll call it new innocent. And we're just going to add them to the list. So we'll go into our operators, scrolling down to list, and add new innocent to the current innocent list. So this is if you join in the 30 seconds after the game has started. Now that we have our list set up, we now need to get this information over to the player status manager. So we're going to close out of the script for now, double check that it's attached. It is. We need to reference the in-game manager, so we'll do that real quick. Referenced, and close, and close. And then we're going to open up the player lobby manager. And our player lobby manager is the one that's currently sending off this list of players when this game starts. So let's see. Right here is where it determines all the values. And so we're going to duplicate this send teleport players to the teleport manager. We're going to quickly create a new object variable, which will be the new player status manager. Press confirm. And we're going to send to the player status manager the new players. What do we call it? We called that the who's playing. So we send who's playing to player status manager with sheriff, murderers, innocent. We'll put that before the teleport players. Not that it really matters. It's going to happen at the same time. And now that that's in, we also need to send a who's playing event when we get a new player who comes in by themselves, which is right here. So we'll duplicate this 10 teleport players. We'll drag over our player status manager, change this to be who's playing, and now we'll add that innocent to the list as well. Now that that's all tied in, we do need to reference it. So we're going to open up the properties panel. We're going to open up the properties panel of our player lobby manager, which is this trigger. I think it's actually already open. Or
already did it.
There it is. Oh, you already did it. You're the best. So you'll see, boom, it's connected. No, thank you.
I just didn't want you to forget. So
I was like, why is there a thing coming out of this? Got it. That makes sense. So these cables, if you've never noticed these before, they show where all the references are going. And so we can see like the knife and the gun are already tied into the player status manager, which is a sneak.
Your electrician.
All the wiring's getting done. I love it.
Yes.
Okay. So the player status manager is now going to receive these lists. So this is fantastic. And then we want to look at the next question, which is, how do we remove people from this list? Now to start, we're going to start with leaving the world. So this is when a player goes into build mode, or when they exit the world, which is the same event. So we have under player events when player exits the world, which will happen whenever somebody who's in play mode goes into build mode. And so what we want to do is remove them from these values. Now, if we lose our sheriff, it's no big deal. If we lose a sheriff, not a problem unless there is, I guess, nobody left, right? So let's go quickly set up kind of some checks. And I think the first thing we'll do is start with the list of innocents. We'll work our way backwards and say, okay, if player is in list. So there's an option here under list called list contains item. This is going to allow us to check if a specific list contains a specific item. In this case, it's a player who's exited the world. And we're going to check two lists. So list one would be brain, innocence, murders, current innocent, current murders. And so if they are contained in either of these lists, we want to remove them from that list. So we'll then go grab remove item from list if they are in the list, and removing the player from a specific list. I'll duplicate that into both of these if statements, dragging, I got that backwards. No, I didn't. Boom, there we go. And boom. So removing a player from the current murders, removing a player from the current innocents if they're in that list. So then the next question is, if we do remove somebody from one of these lists, is there enough players in that list for the game to continue being played? So if we go and say, if current murders is greater than 0, we know there's at least one player left. So we'll go grab the greater than 0, and we're going to duplicate this code into here once we're done, because we also want to know about the length of the other one. So down under list, we have length of list. So we'll check if the length of current murders is greater than 0, duplicate that down into here, check the length of the current innocence if it's greater than 0. Okay.
Do we make that a constant one? Remember how before you made a variable for so you could reuse it? Should we make a reusable one there or not?
If we need to, we'll swap it out later. So
okay.
If we end up needing to use length of murders in multiple places or length of current innocence in multiple places, we will.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we just need it once.
Okay.
So the question is actually the inverse of this, isn't it? It's the length equals 0 is the real question we want to ask. So I've actually done this a little bit backwards. We're going to grab a new if statement, grabbing the double equal symbol, and we're actually going to say if the length equals 0, and then duplicate this into here, and delete the extra one, and then make sure to swap this back to current innocence. Okay, so now if these lengths equal 0, we need to end the game early. And so we can go into our events section, send event to object, and we remember that we can send the end game event to the end game manager to cause the game to end early. So if somebody is a murderer and they go into build mode, that will end the game. If somebody is the last innocent and they go into build mode, that will also end the game. There is probably some other scenarios we should consider. I think it's okay. So I'm trying to think about a situation. If we have one sheriff and one murderer left, we actually need to check that the sheriff isn't empty. So what we're going to do is actually add an if statement at the beginning of this, which is going to say if the current player is the sheriff. And there's a thing that we can do here. So we're going to say if the current sheriff is this player, or we can reverse the logic if player is the sheriff. So if the player is the sheriff, we actually don't need to do any of this logic down here. So I'm actually going to grab an else statement, and we only do this if that player is not the sheriff. So we'll move this into here, and we'll move this into there. Okay. So then if the player is the sheriff, we don't need to do the bottom stuff, but we should set sheriff maybe to like empty. So we'll create a new player variable, which we will leave empty and never set it. So we'll call it empty player and press confirm. And now we can set current sheriff to be empty. And so set current sheriff to empty. And now if we do have somebody who is innocent that gets removed, there's actually two conditions we want to be checking. It's not only that the length of current innocence equals 0, it's that the sheriff is also unassigned, because we don't need to end the game if there's still a sheriff left. So we're going to go grab an if statement, and we're going to grab an and symbol. It's the word and. And so what and is going to allow us to do is check two conditions. We're going to say if the innocents are equal to 0 and the current sheriff equals empty player. We'll drag empty player to the right, current sheriff to the left. Then we know that there is nobody left to fight the murderers, and therefore we need to end the game. Any logic in there I missed? I don't think so. What do you think, Up to?
Yeah.
Looks good.
Looks good to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're in the clear here. I'm trying to think of a situation where this could not be true. I guess if we run into it, we'll solve it at that point. But as far as I'm concerned, this takes care of when players leave the world. We haven't done when player coins out or when the timer hits 0, which is a situation we need to address as well. We also haven't teleported the players back to the spawn point when the game ends. So those are some actually very important things we're going to need to take care of. But for now, I should write it down somewhere. I'm going to forget.
I'll put it up with that list there. Here.
Yeah, I'm going to add a new text object here that says, it's going to say TP remaining players to lobby. So I'm thinking how we're going to do that. I guess we'd probably tie that into the teleport manager would make sense. Okay, so that is that thought. So now we should have a way that ends the game early. We don't have a way to like signify to us in play mode that the game is ended. And so what we're going to do is go into the game loop manager, and where we receive the end game, we're going to just, for the time being until we do TP remaining players to lobby, we're going to do a global pop-up. So show pop-up for all players. And here in the end game, that's going to say, do we have a pop-up? Yeah, we do. Duplicate this pop-up. And then we're going to bring the values down. And so we want to grab the timer of 3 seconds, the position, the font size, the color, and we want to turn off the timer. And now we can delete this one. And then this is going to call, say, game over. Okay. And now, in the future, we might make that say, like, who is won. So, announce winner, question mark. Announce winner, question mark, smiley face. Okay. Now we're going to go into our script, clear, and I'm thinking that Galactic and Euphoria have run off to go and work on 3D models in Blender. So we don't actually have enough to test the game.
Can we throw some server players in there or no?
We could double ourselves up. Yeah, that could work. So if we go into, we'll get teleported twice and represent 2 positions. It could cause some issues, but we'll make it work. So under our player lobby manager, we're going to do a Boolean called,
Test mode.
nah, this isn't going to help us. I was going to add a debug Boolean, but really we can't run this as a debug way of doing things. It's just not a good idea. So we're going
to put a test mode Boolean in and then just say if it's true, then
yeah, but most things will break under this test mode if we did it. Like I have to write code to take care of the fact that there's 2 of us, which is going to go into our end game player status manager, because player status manager is going to see 2 world exit events,
right?
And so that means like if you're the sheriff and an innocent, or you're the sheriff and a murderer, and so for the purposes of this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send the event twice. So we're going to send, and then to make this work better, we're going to add an else if here, because we don't want this to run a second time. And theoretically, this would have optimized our previous code anyway. So this is good to do, because now we only run this if statement, or we run this if statement, or we run this if statement and this if statement, or we only run this if statement if they're a murder, which does potentially suggest that we should put the innocent first, since there's going to typically be more murder. Yeah, okay, we'll actually make the change. It's a little bit of work, but we can do it. Okay, let's actually hit undo first and foremost. And then once that is back into there, we'll drag that to here, scroll down, drag the murderer stuff down to here, move that into there, move this to the bottom, delete the extra if. Okay, so now it says if innocent, which is the more likely case if somebody leaves the world. And then if that's not the case, then we check if they're a murderer. So that makes sense because of the likelihood. And then player checking current sheriff is, it's not as likely, obviously, but it's a singular check. Otherwise, we'd have to check both things to test that. So this will work. So what we're going to do is say send player exit world as an event. So where is it? World player exit. We're going to send that to self with the player. So it happened. They need to come through once. So
we got a tester back.
Oh, we got a tester back? In that case, we'll just delete that code and we'll go get this to work. Hey, who's back?
Euphoria's here.
Hey, Euphoria. So glad to have you. Oh, that's great.
You saved him from writing a crap.
I was like literally getting lost and trying to figure out how to make this work. Let's go into here and delete the extra one. I went into the wrong one, didn't I? Yep, I did. Okay, there it is. Delete that extra line of code. All right, so what we should be able to do, clear, stop, and play. Come on into the world. And our game is starting in 5. Well, game in progress. Countdown. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. Next game in 30 seconds. I'm added to the queue. I'm going to try walking in and out. That is so much fun. Lakes of 5 removed. Added. Removed. Added. Removed. Added. Okay. So we should talk about what we're going to do. So the first thing we should do is have whoever's assigned the sheriff go into build mode first, because that shouldn't cause the game to end. Okay. Because you can, we didn't put in a condition to check if innocent leaves, then sheriff leaves. We need to do a check to see that innocent is empty. Okay. So I was assigned as the detective. Euphoria is the murder. So we're going to do exactly what I was originally going to say, which is we're going to remove myself from the list by going to build mode. You guys are still good. We haven't got the pop-up yet. Now, if either of you leaves, that's going to cause the pop-up. So we'll go with the murder leaving first. And we got game over. Perfect. Over. Yeah. And so now the timer should have reset to 30 seconds. It says next game in 24, 23. So that worked. Now let me go write the fixing code, since we've discovered a new bug. So under our player status manager, we know, hey, welcome. Oh, there's something to look at. You guys array tooled it, by the way.
No. Okay, my cursor, I need to get new controllers. I'm cursed.
You're
So
fine.
I appreciate you pointing that out.
Okay, so we're going to go and check if the length of current innocence equals 0 after we've reset the sheriff. We then just end the game because that's the potential bug. So I've just duplicated the code up and that will work. Sweet. Let's take a look at the building coming along over here. Looking good, you guys. You guys are partying. Oh, am I going crazy or is there no floor?
Oh yeah. So when we added the door, it changed all the inside normals to where we can't see the inside. So it's an easy
man,
fix. It's just
I love working in Blender. What about you?
it's a time. I mean,
I think it's a quick segue to shout out our Discord, Vidyuu. Check it out. We've got a 3D modeling channel where if you're having struggles like this, you can ask for support. We've got fantastic people like Galactic, Sensei J, Euphoria will probably eventually be like the biggest expert of all. And they're happy to answer your questions and be like, yeah, your normals got fixed. Do the thing and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, honestly, I have no clue because I haven't really touched Blender, but you guys are doing great. So I'm really impressed. Keep it up.
Thank you. What do you think of the, let's see.
So let's go ahead and take a second to think about when a player coins out. That one seems a little bit harder because if they are coined out but they aren't left the world, how do we respawn them if they start moving? I think I've got an answer for this. So let's go into our player status manager. And we could create a separate script to manage the coin checking. Might be a good idea since this one's already at 8%, but I was planning to put it in here. Yeah, let's go make and then we'll create an event in here called player is coined. So we'll create a new event called coined player, and press confirm. And the coined player event is going to be received with a player value, and this will be called player. And then we're going to click confirm. And what do we do when a player is coined? We are actually going to call the when world is exited by player because we want to run all of that code and logic that we set up. So we're going to send that event. Although, thinking about it, it might make more sense to do this event called player exited game. And so by creating a separate named event, we make the logic here a little bit easier to follow. So this isn't a huge leap to imagine sending coined player when coined players receive sending world exit. Like that's pretty easy to follow. But as we do build more and more complex code, it's a lot better to kind of think about this. So we'll click if, and then we'll drag the else up. We'll notice that I capitalized it, but they didn't. So we're going to go ahead and delete mine and recreate it with a lowercase p, P-L-A-Y-E-R. Press confirm. There we go. That fixes all the code. So now we're going to take our when world is exited by player and drag it up. And so coined player and world is exited by player are going to send the same event. So we'll go ahead and grab send event. No delay required. Send event to object, which is the, what do we call it? Player exited game. So we send player exited game to self with player. And then we'll do that here, except I capitalize the player there as well. I'm going to get better at this. Just repetition makes you better. So we'll just redo that one. Perfect. So now when coined player is received or world is exited, we cause all that logic to happen. Okay, dope. So now we need a coined player checker, which is going to run on a script like this. And so we're going to go and grab a script gizmo. And we're going to open up the properties panel. Let's see, our time is at 5. I think we can stop the recording. We'll start over just to. All right, let's go ahead and call this script check for coins. And there we go. And I guess the good thing here is that when we send this event, even if you coin out here in this lobby, it still takes care of that, which because there is no problem, so it doesn't cause any issues by running it in there. This all makes sense. This is great. Okay, so when world is started, we need to create an event loop, and we are going to call this coin check. Makes a good sense to me. Coin check. Press confirm. And then what we're going to do is cause this event to loop continuously. And I like the idea of doing this every 10 seconds, but I think 5 seconds is probably good. And then we'll do a backup event that's 10 seconds. And this is similar to what we did before. So we'll go ahead and rename this to coin check, and coin check. Now, when the world is started, we shouldn't need to do a coin check for at least 60 seconds, but for our debugging, probably 10 seconds is fine. Actually, there's that 30-second timer, so yeah, we'll set this to 30 seconds because there's really no reason to start checking coins until then, until the game is like first started. Okay, so when world is started, send coin check to self after 30 seconds. When coin check is received, cancel sending coin check, send coin check 5, and then 10 seconds. So now this event is going to loop, and when this event is received, we need some things to happen, and we're going to need a list of all of the players in the world. So we're going to call this all players. Press confirm. And then we're going to, I forgot to make it a list. And we'll go players, make sure to check list. All players. I'm also going to try and get better at lowercasing the first word. This is proper camel case. Anyway, it's not a big deal in Horizon, but I'm trying to get better. I've been doing it for years the other way where everything's capitalized, but your events should always be capitalized first, second word capitalized, like capitalize events, but then variables are supposed and parameters are supposed to be lowercase for your first word.
Good to know.
Anywho, I'm gonna get better. Now, in addition to an all players list, we need to know about the player's most recent position. So we're going to create a vector list called last position, and we're going to press confirm. So now we need to get a list of players and a list of all these positions. So to do that, we're going to say when player enters the world and when player exits the world. And this is going to allow us to add and remove players to the list. And what we're going to do is when the player enters the world, we're going to go to Operators tab, down to List. We can grab Add to List. Boop, boop. And then when they are exited, we're going to remove item at index and remove item from list. And then we'll delete this and we'll start filling this out. So the first thing we're going to do is add the player to the all players list. We're then going to go to our values, vector input, and drag a zeroed vector to be added to our last position. Now, the reason I'd like to start this with last position rather than getting the position of the player is I have some concern that in the first 5 to 10 seconds, somebody might be frozen in space as they're loading in. And so this at least gives them a little bit longer. Although they aren't in the game, so theoretically it doesn't matter. Anyway, lots of brain. So it doesn't really matter, but nice to be safer than sorry. So now when the world is exited by the player, we need to remove the position, which is at the index. It's at the same index as the player in the all players list. So to do that, we can say get index of item. So we'll grab index of item in list, and that'll allow us to get the index of the player in the all players list and remove that position from the last position vector list. We can then remove the player from the all players list, and this will keep our list always in parallel. Okay.
Quick question. Yes. Pardon my ignorance, but when world is entered by player, you're adding a position here. Wouldn't it be add like last position of player, or does it automatically understand that it's talking about the player? Like, you see how you put there just add and then you put a vector? Like, yep. How does it know that it's referencing the player?
So let's imagine we grab a couple shapes and imagine the list as a couple shapes. So this is our list of vectors, and this is our list of players. This because it's a person's head. Yeah. So when the player comes in, we add that player to a list, which puts them at index 0, and we add a vector of 0 to the position list, which puts it at index 0. Then when the next player comes in, we're adding that to the list, which puts it at index 1. and then we get the next player at index 2, and so on. But then, say person who is at index 2 who's at position 2, which is index 1, wants to leave, we get the index of this one.
Sorry, I understand now. You're just making two separate lists.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then,
so there's something in the way of that pill, and I didn't realize you were adding that to a list. So it's okay.
Oh no, you're good.
I got it now. I got it.
Yep.
I had a moment of like, how does it know? But no,
you're good.
I understand what you're doing. It's okay. Yeah.
So then, for anyone else who was curious, when this does get removed, this player, the rest of the list actually shifts upwards and fills that back in. So player who is in position 3 goes into position 2, and so on. So that's how this list will stay updated throughout the process. Fantastic. Okay, so now we've got a list of players. We've got our coin check event. And in our coin check event, we now need to utilize our players and positions. And we know we're going to have up to 16 players, so we want to make sure that this doesn't run over an execution count when we go through and check every single player. And so we've talked a little bit about how to avoid the while loop limit, because normally you'd want to run a while loop in here and just quickly run through all the players, check their positions, do some things. But in the case of this, we're going to create a more classic event loop. And this event loop is going to be called, let's see, we'll call it, it is a coin check. So coin checks, we'll call it coin checks. Just add an S because it's going to do the checks. And so this needs some variation to happen. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to create some I lists. So this is a player list that is called I players. Press confirm, and then we're going to create a list of vectors called I positions. Okay, press confirm. Now, by creating this, we do create a potential problem where during this loop, somebody might actually be able to leave at the same time this event loop is happening. If that does happen, we should create an if statement that says if the player is in this list, then we need to remove them. And to do that, we're going to do list contains item. So we'll say if the player is contained in the I players list, then we need to remove the item and remove that other item. And so this is not from the position list, but from the I position list. And it's not this same index. It's from the index of the I player list because it's a separate paralleled list. And then similarly, we'll remove that player from the I players list. So to quickly recap, when the world is X by the player, if it happens to be running the coin checks event, which will take less than a second, but if for some reason they're in that 1/16th, it's something like that of a second, or 1/10 of a second roughly, then this will say, oh, they are in that list. We need to remove them so that this doesn't fail on us. So then it'll remove item player, the index of player in I players from the I positions list. We'll then remove player from the I players list. Perfect. And if they're not in the list, it just doesn't do anything. So now when coin checks is received, we need to get this event linked in here. And so we're going to go ahead and send the coin checks event during the coin check event. And this will happen in the very next frame. And so it should be running around 60 frames per second. So coin checks comes through. And then what we need to do before coin checks is received is we need to set our lists. So we're going to go ahead and set these and then send the coin checks event, although the order doesn't matter. It's mostly just for my brain. So we're going to set the I positions and the I players to be copies of the all players and last positions. And so then we can run through one at a time and remove them from the list. And I am thinking, I don't think we need an I positions list. The more I've thought about it, the more I think we can delete that variable. We can delete this. We can scroll down here, delete this, and just leave if players in the I players list removed from my players. Yep, that'll work. And the reason you'll see in just a moment as we build this script. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is convert this. We're going to think about this as if it was a while loop, and we're going to make this event run like a while loop. And to do that, we grab an if statement. And so what this if statement is going to do is it's going to say if there are players in the iPlayers list, we're going to keep going. And when there are no longer players in the list, we're going to stop. So we're going to say if, and then we're going to go down and grab the length of iPlayers, length of list, iPlayers greater than 0. Oopsie, undo, try that again. Duplicate, delete the 1. And so now, if the length of iPlayers is greater than 0, then we will do the things and we will send coin checks to self again. And this will make it happen in the very next frame as well. So if there were 16 of these, it would be 16 60ths of a second, or if it's running at 72 frames per second, even faster. Okay, so now we've made this run like a while loop, which is great. The only problem is this will run forever because we're not removing anybody from the list. And so we're going to engage with the player who's at index 0. So we're going to always remove item 0 from the iPlayers list. So now what we want to do is take that current player, and we need to know about their last position. So we're going to say new vector variable. This is going to be called current position. CUR, capital POS, confirm. And we're going to set current position. And this current position will be the position of the player at index 0. So we'll go and grab position of player, scroll back down, and get item from list. And that'll be the player who is at index 0 in the iPlayers list. And the position we're going to work with will be the player's head, because I feel like that's going to move the most, right? Right? I think even the torso would be fine. I feel like head's a good one. Theoretically, you should not be able to stand still. Even like, there's no way, theoretically. I'd love to see someone try, though. Maybe we will. So we've set current position to be the current head position of the player. And then we need to know the last position. And so what we're going to say is if some condition is true, and this condition is if the current position equals their last position. So if we get item from list, so we'll go down to get, that's player, get item from list. And then the item we want to get is from the last position list, and its index is the index of our iPlayer, or not from our. We're going to use this iPlayer value quite a few times. So rather than just getting item 0, we're going to create a new player variable called current player, CUR, PLAYER, confirm. And so we will set current player to be this value so that we can use it in multiple places. And then we were going to get the index of, so we need to go down to here and grab the index of the current player from the players list, because all players in last position is parallel, not iPlayers. So now that we've gotten the position, if this position is the same, we're going to cause some sort of end game for them, right? We're going to send that event we decided on earlier. But if it's not, we want to update their last position. So else, we're then going to operators, and we can set value at index and list. And because we're calculating the index of this player up here, we're going to create a new number variable called current index and press confirm. So that way we can set it and use it in 2 places. So set current index to be the index of the current player in all players. Use it here. And then over here, we can use it and say set index in the last position list. The value is the current position. Okay. So we're setting the current position. We're setting the we're setting the player's position in last position that is relevant to their index to be the current position that we just calculated. Now, that will allow us to go through every single player and do this update. And then if somebody coins out, this is what's going to happen. And we know that we need to create an object variable, which is going to reference to the player status manager. So we'll create a new object called player status manager. Press confirm. And we're going to grab a send event to object. And we're going to send to the player status manager with our current player as a parameter. And we're then also going to send the event is called coined player. And I think that's all we need to do to get our coined player teleported out of here or removed from the game. It doesn't fix the problem, which is that the player needs to be teleported if they do come back. And we want to fix that. So to fix that, I was thinking of an idea, and I'm trying to find out a solution that's simpler because my current idea is that we create a list of Boolean values. And that just creates a third parallel list, which is a little more complicated than I think we need to make it. You know what we can do? Nope, I don't have anything. We'll come back to it. Okay.
Testers are gone again. Nuts.
What'd you say? Our testers are gone? Oh. Fortunately, we shouldn't need them. I think we'll be good. So we're going to move this to here. We're going to duplicate this guy to be our manager. And we'll snap it there, open this up. This one goes on to here, and this is the check for coins. So we'll drop down, select check for coins. Then we need to reference player status manager, which is this guy. So, and reference. Okie doke. So then, under our player status manager, we actually have a coin in here. Would you look at that? Oh. Do we have two of them? Oh yeah, we do. We can.
But don't they need to be in the game though?
No, they shouldn't. Well, we'll see. We're just gonna do a debug print with the name of the player. So okay. I'll go and grab name of player, debug print, and if we don't have them, we can just do U2. So we'll go ahead and click script, clear, and play. Oh, expected item 0 got -1. We got a couple errors. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Up to it. Let me have you coin out for me.
Oops, hang on. I did the wrong thing. Hang on. There we go.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We should have received something. Let's go and look into this. Stop. Clear. There is an error coming through. It doesn't have enough information to figure out what the problem is, but let me go read through the check for coins and see if I'm doing something wrong in here. I think the issue has to be get item current index from last position. I feel like it's got to be right here, but then why would it have gone off on world start? Coin check, sent to self. Oh, it was a 30-second delay. I should change that down to 3 seconds for testing purposes. Whoops. My bad. I didn't even wait long enough. But there were some errors in here that I was concerned about. I assumed right off the bat that they were related to the coins in our world. So when world is entered by player, add player to all players. And so I assumed it was getting an error because they didn't exist as players. They were just kind of like fake. Because they're coins. When world is exited, remove item, index of player on all players. Yeah, I'm not sure. We're going to go ahead and hit play. This time it's set to 3 seconds. So if you can stay alive for a little bit.
Okay.
Yep. And we're going to count down. Oh, Vidyuu and Euphoria already popped up on the list. It worked. Oh, and they're popping up again and again. That they're coins. Okay, cool. So the error that we're going to get here is that they're going to always appear. So up to, can I have you coin for me?
Okay.
Okay. So then here's that. And then the next time this comes through, it should also have up to late on the list. And it doesn't. Let's wait one more time. Oh, it doesn't. Interesting. I wonder if it only counts coins that are like actually gone. Huh. Well, anyway, I'm super happy the fact that this is working. Even the fact that it's not working on you isn't the worst thing in the world. Because the coins that we're worried about are the ones that hard power off. Let's stop this for a second. You can come back. What we're going to do first is we're going to take care of the fact that it kept sending them through, which is really annoying, right? Like, can you imagine being the player status manager and being a real human or a real AI, and you're like, please stop telling me, I already know, please, I already know. And this guy's like pestering you. So we got to fix that. And I think fixing it, the fix is also going to solve some of our problems. And so what we can do is go into our variables tab and create that list I was telling you about. So we're going to create a list of Booleans called is alive and well, mostly for the giggles. Confirm. And so when world is entered by player, we are going to set is alive and well for the player to be true. So we're going to add a Boolean of true to that list, Boolean input, true to the is alive and well list. And when they exit the world, in addition to removing it here, we also need to remove it there. You'll notice now we have 2 of these. And so we're going to calculate this value. And so we'll set the current index to be this value, duplicate, duplicate. And this will not frustrate this thing, because once all of this code is going to happen in a big chunk. So once it's done with this current index, then this code could run. So if they did happen to happen in the exact same frame, this still wouldn't mess up using this. So just sharing that. So we set current index to be the index of the player. We've removed those values from the last position is alive and well. And so the next thing we want to do is we want to go in, and when we find out that they're not alive and well, we're going to set it. And so here we did set current position, right? Now we don't need to update their position, but we do need to update their Boolean value. So we're going to update the is alive and well with a Boolean input of false. And now that we have this Boolean input of false, we can actually find out if they are alive and well. And so we'll grab an if statement, and right here, sorry, we're going to just get the item is alive and well at the current index from the is alive and well. And what this is going to tell us is if the player is alive and well. Now, if this is true, we want to run the code that's in here. If it is false, we know that they have already been through this process and been deemed to be, not alive and well. And so we don't need to run this code. And so it'll just skip to the end and remove them from the list and send coin checks to go on to the next player. And so that is how we are going to do all of that. I'm also thinking that this current position isn't used until here, so we can move current position down, and that way we don't run the current position check unless they are alive and well. Okie dokie. I love the name of that Boolean. It is super funny. Try to make your Booleans good. Give yourself a giggle. I mean, build mode can be taking a long time out of your day, so you might as well have fun with it. Now that the code is running, we know in 3, 2, 1, we're going to have the code run for the first time, and then 5 seconds later, we get Vidyuu and Euphoria on the list as being alive, not alive and well. And then a second 5 seconds later, we don't get them. And so now the challenge for me and Up Too Late is if we can stand still enough to trigger this for both of us. So I'm going to go into play mode. I'm going to coin out this one. Oh, wrong button. This one. And then I'm going to try and stand perfectly still in here for like 15 seconds. Oh, I can totally feel myself shaking. Here we go. 15, 14, 13, 12. Oh my gosh, that is so hard. Okay, there's no way I pulled that off. Going into build mode. Yeah, no. I mean, I can even see your ring or your circle is jiggling. So it's like it's jiggling.
Just a little bit.
So I think the code is good though. I mean, if somebody is in coin mode and they're just running around their house doing something real quick, that's okay. I think you can still get murdered too. We'll have to test that, but I believe that when you are a coin that is alive like that, you can actually still get murdered. So we'll want to test that later. Maybe we'll make a little note.
Yeah, there's a shooting game here. I love to shoot the coins because it's like free kills.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we'll say can unalive living coins question mark. That is a good question. Okay, so we're doing pretty good here. Let's see. Player status manager is debug printing when a coin player comes through because we've caused them to exit the game. That's fine. We still need to teleport players when the game ends. We know that there is one other situation that we haven't figured out with the player coins. So let's go back to our check for coins. And I'm becoming more and more grateful we made this its own script because we just keep adding more to it. But the thought, though, was that if the player comes back, they are then alive and well. And I don't know if this is possible. I don't know that you could become a coin and come back. So I'm kind of the mindset right now that until we see the error occur where somebody comes back from being a truly dead coin, because I don't believe it's possible. I think they will re-enter the world as a brand new player to come back to the world. Right? Like if Euphoria comes back, he's going to spawn in here because he's truly.
I could do it right now. I could go to my house and then come back. I could be in coin mode, leave, and come back. Let me do that.
I don't think. You mean like go to your personal home?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? It's going to cause all the start events to go off. So I don't think there's any way that we can. I don't think there's anything that we need to worry about here because I was worried about the coin, but because you were jiggling as a coin that's alive, I don't think it counts. But maybe we should quickly test it just for the sake of the test.
What if I'm going to have you on my bed, walked away?
Exactly. Let's see if that works. If you stuff it on your bed, walk away, come back like within a minute or two.
Go into coin mode first, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's do 30 seconds. You can hear me. I'll tell you when you stop jiggling. So still jiggling. Wait, not jiggling? I can't tell. Doesn't look like it's jiggling.
Shouldn't be jiggling.
I'm waiting for the thing to appear. We don't even have Euphoria and them on. I'm going to have you come back for a second. Okay. I'm going to stop the world. I think you were not in build mode when I hit play. I'm wondering if that might have been the issue. So go into build mode for me.
Okay. All right.
And then, I remember. I removed the debug print. Oops. There we go. I fixed it. Hit the undo button. Okay, that's why.
All right.
Let's try this again.
Press play, and then I
go ahead into play mode.
Okay.
And go coin out.
Coin. Okay.
Yep.
And then just put on my bed.
Yep. All right. Vidyuu and Euphoria are already on the list. Give it 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So you should at least be on the list. We'll do another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still not appearing because your headset is still like jiggling based off of its position data being incorrect and kind of like shaking on that. So far, yeah, interesting. I'm waiting to see if it has you appear. I guess we'll wait for another 60 seconds and then we'll call it. 60, 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 54. Yeah, interestingly, your name tag is jiggling. You're not touching it at all, right? No, it's sitting on the bed. Yeah, I can barely hear you. So I guess your name tag must jiggle based off of the location data being incorrect.
Put this on a sturdier surface.
Yeah, sure. Like, let's see if we can cause it to. Yeah, because your name tag is just moving as you move around the room. Huh. I mean, it's the slightest of slight jiggles. Like, I have to get pretty close to see it jiggling.
Okay. I should now it's across the room. It's on 2 hard surfaces.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's just the cameras are funky. I think we can call it safely. If we encounter this bug later on, we'll flag it and fix it. But it seems like we're in the clear with coins coming back. Now, if you were a coin and you did come back in the real off chance, how do we take care of you? Like, I think in our gun script and in our knife script, and in the escape script, it should allow anyone who's in there to get killed or escape. So even if they're not technically in the list, it should still teleport them back if they get stabbed or shot, and it should still like the doors should open and let you walk out if there is a when the escape thing happens. So I think even if that situation did occur, the biggest thing the coin won't get is they won't get the win technically, and they probably won't get the death. Well, they might get the death registered. So like stats might be incorrect, but everything else should be fine, even in the worst case scenario. Okie doke. Okay, I'm going to go delete these from our list of things to do because we've got the leaving the world taken care of. So let's go slide over. Okay, and then the next one was, oh, we need to do timer ends. Is there an easy way to get to the end other than holding down this arrow?
Nope.
Darn. Every so often, it'll sometimes jump to the opposite end for me, and I'm like, how do I make that happen? Okay, so the next one we're going to try and do is timer ends. That should be pretty easy. Okay. So, game loop manager. What we should have happen if we do this in the game loop manager is we're going to need to create a reference for the end game early. So we'll call it the end game manager. End game manager. Press confirm. And so we know that there's a loop. And in this loop, it has a situation called when clock equals 0 and we're not in the ready up phase, we know that the ready up gets started. In fact, we send ready up to the player manager. We set clock to ready up time. We set his ready up phase to true. And we're also going to send event to object, which is end game, will get sent to the end game manager. Now, what I think is interesting about this is that end game is then immediately re-received on self, like 1 or 2 frames later, and we show the pop-up for everyone that says game over. And we were going to set is ready up phase to true, but if we use an if statement and say that the is ready up phase has to be not true to set is ready up phase to true and set clock to ready up time and send timer loop, we basically have determined one of the end game states. So that means that the game is ended from a different purpose, like time's up, right? So there's like game over, and then there's time's up. And so I think we'll show the pop-up at the end, and then we'll create a new string, which we'll call pop-up. Call this pop-up. Press confirm. And then we can set the pop-up string to be game over by default. And then we'll use it here and here. And then if it is not the ready up phase, or wait a second. Excuse me, I have this backwards. It's actually, if it is the ready up phase, then we know that the game ended because of the timer ending. And therefore we can set pop up to say not game over. It'll say time's up to let people know that nobody won. They just, the game ended. Right? Seems good. So now we've currently got 2 different display messages for the end game state, which I think is okay. We can keep working on making this better. I've got the announce winner question mark in there, so that seems good, and we're kind of like queued up to work on that. Okie doke. So now we've done the timer getting linked in. Oh, but we forgot to reference it on the timer. So if we go to the timer over here, we need to reference the end game manager.
Spawn the players on timer end though. Yeah. No.
We have not respawned the players yet. That is a very important part. Innocent and detective dead. Detective kills the murderer. Escape via unlocking front doors. Conditions that end the game. Okay. Escape via unlocking the front doors will probably be the last thing we do. Detective kills the murderer and innocent and detective dead. We actually already have checks for that under our player status manager, which we were previously calling player exited game. But we could call it player, like I guess player exited game could mean they died or they were respawned, right? And so that causes the same thing to happen. The game ends if you kill all the innocent. So that actually seems like we're on the right track there. So we can use the player exited game to do the last 2. Escape via unlocking the door. So I guess you're absolutely right. The next thing we really have to tackle is the, I'm going to delete the coin player debug. The next thing we really need to tackle is, brain, the teleporting. And so to teleport players, we have been removing players when the game is exited, and we know about end game. End game manager needs to send an event to the player status manager to let it know that the game is ended. And so we're going to create an event called game end, or end game rather. Copy the same naming structure. So when end game is received, we're going to receive that from the end game early. And so this will come through even when the timer ends, which is great. And so that's what's so good about having an end game manager. And so what we need to know is about the player status managers. We'll create an object variable called player status manager. Press confirm, and we're going to send the end game event to the player status manager. Now, at the end of the day, this end game early script is probably just going to be a list of sending end game to a bunch of different places, but it really allows us to quickly tie into a singular location and make sure that everything makes sense. And so that this whole thing, even though there's a ton of scripts here, are interconnected in a way that's easy to modify later, easy to understand if you're coming back in a couple months and are trying to figure out, oh, wait, I need to add another end game, or you're trying to debug. So super loving the way that this is set up. Now we're going to open up the properties panel of this one and reference in our player status manager. And now player status manager will receive the end game event when the game ends. And now we just need to loop through and teleport all the players back to the beginning. Interestingly, we have a teleport manager, which we should probably utilize. And so we'll create a new object called teleport manager. Teleport manager, and press confirm. And we're going to send an event. I think we'd already used something called...
I thought it was a spawn point we used for the teleport manager, didn't we?
It is, yes. It is actually that, yes. So we previously created a teleport players event, which is not useful because we need to teleport players, but we actually need to respawn them. So I guess we'll actually call this one respawn players, since it's spawning them back to the lobby. we'll call it respond to lobby. We'll make it even more clear than that. So respond to lobby, press confirm. So we send respond to lobby to the teleport manager. And what we need to do is we need to send it with all of the players. And so we're going to send the current sheriff. We're going to send the current murderers and the current innocents. Now, if the sheriff is empty, or the innocents are empty, or the murderers are empty, we will have code to deal with that on the teleport side. / we might not. We'll look at it in a second. So we need to go create a respond to lobby on the teleport manager. And we also need to reference teleport manager on here. So we're going to go open up properties panel of this guy, which is our teleport manager, and bring him in and drag this over to here. There we go. That's our lobby spawn point, which is the teleport manager. Now, on our teleport manager script, we can respawn the players to self, which works. But when you respawn a bunch of players to the same location, it's not great. So what I'm going to do right off the bat is create a new object list called lobby spawn points. Lobby spawn points. Press confirm. And then we're going to do another event, which will be when new lobby spawn points. So new lobby spawn position. Sure, that works. Press confirm. So when new lobby spawn position is received with a spawn position, we're then going to add that spawn position to the lobby spawn positions and put that there. And then we need to go in and create an event at the bottom of this, which is going to be not teleport players, but very similar. When event is received, this event is called when respawn players to lobby is received, which is going to have all the same values as before. So I could have duplicated it to not have to retype all this, but that's okay. We'll call this sheriff. Confirm new player list. And this one is our murderers. Murderers. Let's confirm. And our player list of innocents. Innocents. Press confirm. And so we're going to loop through these respawning. And so we're just going to quickly grab a while loop. We're going to respawn. I'm pretty sure this won't break if we try to respawn somebody who doesn't exist, like the sheriff specifically. If we need to check an empty, we'll just do if not empty and create an empty variable. I guess we'll be safe. We'll do the safe thing. We'll do it. Like, it's so fun to be lazy though. So player not list called empty. Press confirm. And I want to call it empty player. We'll try that again. Player empty player. Press confirm. And we're going to check if it doesn't equal empty. So if the sheriff, undo, if the sheriff doesn't equal empty player. I think yesterday I told you that undo was broken. What I meant was redo and undo are broken in the case that you've tried to move something into a different event.
Oh, okay.
So when you try to move something
that later, and I'm like, no, it's working, but okay.
But I think it is fixed because there was something. Yeah, it's working again now. But there was a bug where if you tried to move something from one event to another event, it would get deleted, and then you couldn't undo it. But that was fortunately, it looks like it's been fixed.
How many spawn points are we having in the lobby, and are they all running the script on them?
Let's add 4 lobby spawn points that are like 2 on this side and 2 on this side, and we'll need to run that same thing. Yes. So the spawn register script. Just run that same script, and I'm going to create a Boolean, which will be
register, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to rename it to be called spawn register, and it's going to be called is innocent, which will be on by default, so you'll want to turn it off. So is innocent, and then press confirm. That'll be default true, and we'll run an if else statement on world start to determine which one of these events we're sending. So if innocent, duplicate, and then we send the other event that we created, new lobby spawn. Okay. So the spawn register event will work as long as you set the Boolean to false.
Spawn register Boolean is the innocent.
Is false because it's a lobby spawn.
Is off.
Yep. Okay. When register to lobby is received with all of these values, we've said if the sheriff is not an empty player, we respawn the sheriff to self. So we've made sure that one's safe. Now the next thing we're going to do is going to use our I list from before. So we're just going to grab set, and we're going to start by setting our I murderers to murderers. And let's drag those in and drag that one in, and then set that one to innocents. And then we're going to drag this below, and then we're going to remove item at index 0. So we'll go down to our list, remove item at index 0 from the iMurder list. And then we're going to just get this as much setup as possible so we can just duplicate it.
Is there anything else that's going to be tied to this before I duplicate them?
Yes, or just the one thing. It's just going to be tied to the manager, and that's it.
Tied to the teleport manager? And is that under
yes,
spawn
teleport
position?
Manager. Let's see. Right here at the bottom, you've already got it tied in. You're good. It says lobby spawn point. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right, and then just copy that over 4 times.
Exactly. Okay. Sweet. And so we're going to say length of list. So we'll scroll down and grab length of the iMurd list. If that's greater than 0, then remove item at index 0, which will clear it through the list. But we also need to respawn the item at item 0. So we'll respawn player, and to not self. So we're going to need to loop through those spawn points in a second. And then we're going to get item at index 0 from this list. And then the spawn point is going to be an I value. So what we'll do is set I length. The sheriff, that would be fun. The sheriff always spawns in the center. That would be kind of fun. It's kind of set up for that. We don't have to set up for that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it like it. So we're going to set the I length value to be the length of our list of those spawn points, the lobby spawn points, and then we'll grab item 0 from that list. So we're going to get item at I length. So get item at I length from the lobby spawn points. That's where we teleport them to. And then what we need to do is we need to set I length to be +1 modulus the length. And we should save the length as a variable, so that would be a little bit easier to use. So let's go grab our modulus symbol, grab the plus symbol, and let's go create a new variable called number, which is lobby spawn count. Press confirm. We'll use that here on the right side of our modulus. We're going to add 1 to I length, and then I length is I length +1 mod lobby spawn count, so it loops back to the beginning once we get to the end. We then actually undo what I just did there. We're going to set this length. We're going to set lobby spawn count to be this length, then duplicate that there, and then drag this onto when the lobby spawn event is received. So let's go back up to an innocent when lobby spawn. Okay, there we go. And I do want to reverse these orders, actually. There we go, that's better. For my brain, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now set I length to lobby spawn count, set iMurd to murderers. When length of iMurd is greater than 0, respawn item 0 to I length, and then keep iterating through I length. And then we duplicate this and do the exact same thing for the innocents, which will pick off wherever we left off with the I length value. And we just need to swap murder with innocent, and that should do the trick. Okie doke. So, let's see what I'm missing. I think we're pretty good. We're going to wrap the video right here. Just going to want to test this. I don't think we have any testers, though. They're probably still working on the build. And
we also we could probably quickly do events for the knife and the gun so that we could also test that at the same time with everybody, but I don't know if that's a quick thing or not.
I was gonna overcomplicate it, but might be a simple thing. I think my headset is getting close to dead.
Okay.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
It's at 39%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but doesn't seem close to dead. I'm going to stop the recording. Okay. I think we've got a little bit of time left. So, and maybe they'll appear back here in a minute. So what we're going to do is get the gun and the knife working real quick. So our gun is got some basic script. Thank you, Up Too Late, for getting this started. It's got, when world is started, we're saving the origin rotation. So classic return script, origin position. I like to do a position first. And then we got index trigger is pressed. I know I'm picky. I am. I'd fully admit it. When index trigger is pressed, I'll grab my player, launch projectile from launcher. Okay, that's good. When projectile hits player, we don't have that being received because we need a listen to events on launcher. So we'll grab listen to events to add to world start for launcher. Now we'll know when the projectile hits players. So when projectile hits a player, we can then send player shot to the player status manager, which is great. But we also, well, I guess our player shot on the player status manager will take care of the teleporting as well. So we'll do that over there. So if you want to get the knife to look very similar to this, but with player collision events, I'm going to go quickly write the code for player shot, and then we'll do the knife next. So player status manager is going to receive player shot event. So when player shot is received, are we sending the player parameter, I assume? And we are not. So we're going to pass the player parameter in. We don't need to know about anything else, so that should be okay. And then we'll come back over here. So when player shot is received with a player ID, which we'll call player with a lowercase p, because I'm getting better. Press confirm. I was dead set on that for like 2.5 years. Okay, so I'm I'm gonna slowly.
So I should change this to lowercase p then. Okay.
No, you don't have to worry about it. It's not a big deal.
I can do it. I will do it. It's happening.
Okay.
Already done.
Oh, you didn't do that for the event, did you?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying right now. I'm changing.
I meant for the
event.
player pill. No. The event should be capitalized. So
okay.
the framework is like this. Anything that's a variable or a parameter should have a lowercase letter for the first word and capital case letter for the following words. That's called camel case. When you do events are like methods, and those ones should be capitalized. And so those ones are, all words are capitalized. I'm really excited to check that out. That looks cool. And that is called, I want to say, Pascal case. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But anyway, you're supposed to do both. And so your variables should never look the same as your events. And when you're in a coding environment, it makes a little bit more of a difference. But here in Horizon, it doesn't actually matter. They'll allow you to mess it up and it won't break the stuff. But it's a good habit to get into, because if you ever do transition into like TypeScript, which has been said to be coming to Horizon, it makes it a lot easier to read your code. Plus, that is the requirement there. You can't do it any other way. So it is a good habit to get into, and why I am trying to change, because I spent years doing it the wrong way. And I was just like, I like my words capitalized. But I'm no longer going to do that. So I've got lots of mistakes in here, but that's okay. Not a big deal. When player shot is received with lowercase player, lol, we need to cause the player to get removed. So I'm going to drag this up, because we have player exited game needs to happen. So we send player exited game to self with the player, because we know the player has been removed. And now to cause the player to exit, because the coined player and the world is exited by player, we don't really care about them. They're gone. But the player shot player actually needs to be teleported. And previously we were using respawn to lobby with all of the values. But in this case, we're going to use respawn to lobby, but with a singular value, which is just the player. So we'll delete all that and put in the player. Then we go back to our player lobby manager, or no, that's our teleport manager, excuse me. On our teleport manager, we have this respawn to lobby event. We're going to duplicate it. Going down to the bottom one, we can delete almost everything. We'll just keep this one and delete everything else. And I'm pretty sure actually we should keep some of that. Undo. We want to keep that bit, and we don't want any of this, so we'll delete. Oh, it's not letting me delete. Oh no. Oh, saving ring. Okay, we're good. Wait for the saving ring. Saving ring. There we go. Okay. Now I should be able to delete again. delete, delete, delete. We want that one, and we want this one, and we delete that. And so we can delete this and that and that, and add a new parameter, which is the player, Layer, press confirm. So we're going to respawn the player, not to self, but to a specific spawn point. So I did delete the code, but I can get it from right here. So we get item at eye length from the lobby spawn points. And so what we're going to say is wherever eye length left off is where we're going to continue from. And so it might be at 0 because the world has just started, but it also might be somewhere else. And so it's just going to keep, every time someone dies, it's going to choose a different one. So if somebody does get killed, if there's 2 players killed in a row, it'll choose different spawn points for them, which is important. And only the sheriff can get spawned to this one, which is for better or worse. Debating if I still like that idea or not. For now, we're going to leave it. Very cool. So now that respond to lobby is linked in, and we've got the gun linked in, we should be able to kill players while we're in the game using the gun.
Can you check and make sure that I did this? I just only put in there that doing it with player. Was there what else is needed to be done in that one?
You did it perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
So when World is started, we've got some positions set up. Thanks for rotating those around. When colliding with player, send player stabbed to the player status controller.
Except they called it knife OOP. Unless maybe change that to be.
I would change it before somebody knows. Not that this is recorded or anything. Heading to the player status manager, we've now done player shot, and now we have the player knifed event. What was that player event called?
Player stabbed.
Is that what it's called? Player stabbed?
That one? Yeah.
Oh, it's weird. It's not in my list of events. It should have been in here.
And also
You're for sure it's player stabbed? Capital P L A Y.
No, I didn't put the capital P. That's why. Here, I change it.
Okay. Cool. And so for player stabbed, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did in the player shot event. So that'll work great. Yeah, super nice. If we start adding a lot of different variations to player shot and player stab that are like the same, we might create another thing like player exited game where we're passing it through as a thing so that we only have to pass one event and all the things are copied into that singular event. And then that there's just slight variations for shot versus stabbed. And then the things that are all the same happen in the same event. But for now, this is okay because it's just 2 things. And that should allow us to both stab and knife. Yeah, we can now stab and knife people. Fantastic. So, and this just removes them from the game as if they had exited the game and teleports them out. So everybody can be stabbed and knifed and shot at this point. Stabbed and knifed are the same thing. What am I thinking? Anywho, we're going to take
those up at the,
we're going to leave our main ones here. We're going to duplicate these and put them up here with our little guys here, and we can test them. And I got to check out this build. You guys, you both are hunchbacked, and it's kind of hysterical.
So are you.
Oh, what the heck? Oh, I'm so glad no one can see me. Okay, it's coming along. I love the windows.
Why can't I see anything? It looks like it's still...
There's things that are missing, but the normals are flipped. I promise it's there.
I believe you. I totally believe you. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
This is going to be great.
It's right here. It's right here on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there. It's just, yeah.
It's just angry.
It's just angry. And we got a little attic up. Oh, you can't even see the attic anymore. Oh my gosh. Well, they'll keep working on it. You guys ready to test this out, and then we're going to call it a day?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So let's go see. We've got the killing and stabbing stuff is kind of in there, but it's also not like a mandatory thing to be in there. Let me go and change the check for coins back to 30 seconds since we're not going to be doing any coining. We learned a lot of really cool stuff about coins, you guys. So that was a fun one to tackle. Can unalive. We did TP remaining players to lobby, so that's done. Can unalive living coins is still a question we need to solve. And we can test that, I guess, when we get up there now. All right, so let's head on in.
Let's go.
Game in progress for only 2 more seconds.
Hurry.
All right, next game. It's so weird that you're in the Vidyuu account. It's just like,
I know.
let's do a quick selfie here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love your shirt. It's like
It's like
samesies.
but without the vibes.
It's like you remembered to shave, but I didn't.
Vidyuu without the vibes. All right.
This is. I love it.
I don't think you really have the Vidyuu vibe going on. No.
My pants are kind of cool. Oh, I got teleported in. Okay, who am I?
Okay,
Innocent.
I'm a detective.
I'm the murderer. So theoretically, I should have this. Oh no!
Whoa,
The
you
sword
game over.
stabbed me, but it caused the game to end early. But you guys didn't get teleported out.
No.
I forgot to change the not with
Yep. So anyway, this sword works really well.
So well.
It kills the detective too. Okay, but
and the gun isn't
detective and
grabbable.
murderer got respawned, but the innocents didn't get respawned. So can't get list item. Expected 0 to 3 got 4. So it was our spawn points
God,
that
we
caused
should
the
make a
error. So there's
few
an issue on the
weapons
teleport
that are
manager.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see your collision.
Okay.
players,
Let's see.
How do we make it so that it doesn't? I have right
Add
now
spawn
collision
point.
events from players, but it should be collision events from.
I'm about to die. I gotta plug into power. One moment. Okay,
No death.
and plugged in. Yeah. Okay, let me go ahead and stop the recording and restart. The question up to has, and then we'll go look at the bug, which is that the knife can stab self. So I think if we turn player hands off, it's less likely to stab self for our testing purposes. We don't really want to kill people by stabbing them in their hands anyway. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. Can you imagine? I'm like, I cut your hands off.
They could literally stab themselves in the face.
Yeah, well, we're going to fix that later by doing an if
Okay.
statement to be like,
Okay.
oh, you're the murderer.
Yeah.
You're not,
Yeah.
but we haven't got to that
Okay.
part of the game yet.
Okay, sure.
So I wanted to see if there was anything in here for that, like can be stabbed. Collision events from players is good. Player heads, torsos, yeah. So you can totally stab yourself in the head. Just don't do it. Who can grab anyone? Who can take from holder? Only you. And I mean, everything looks good. I don't think there's a way for us to. Oh, you know what? There is one way we can do it. No, we're not going to worry about it. We're not even going to worry about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Um,
No worrying.
Yep, no
And
worries.
then this wasn't grabbable. Why? Let's see here. Interactive, grabbable. There we go. For some reason, it got changed.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll delete these two if you want to duplicate them and bring them up. And then the question that was on my mind was that we were getting an error that said out of index, and I believe it was the teleport manager when it went to teleport the players. Was it because there was, let's see, set eye length to lobby spawn count. Get item 0 from iMurderers. So we got the murderer out. That worked. Removed item index 0 from iMurderer. And then set INO. We respawn me to the lobby, but we didn't remove me from the list. Ah, the problem. Well, no, we did, didn't we? Or is it because it's happening too fast? When respond to lobby is received, that's happening because the player's been removed. Yeah, is it because it's happening too fast? No. What? Let's think. Let's go take a look at our player status manager. No, because then the player would have just got teleported twice. So that wouldn't have been a problem. When in-game is received, send respawn to lobby to teleport manager with all of the current values. And when we respond to lobby, we've also made them leave the game. So they should have been removed before in-game was coming back. That should have happened within the frame or two. So the teleport manager still running out of index for some reason. Lobby spawn count is presumably correct. Might need to do some checking there. I guess if there was no items in the lobby spawn count, that could be the problem, but it did seem to be referenced in. Let's go into bug print this length as it comes in. And let's see what happens when I hit play. Clear and play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, they're all there. Let's see what else. So it's not there not being enough lobby spawn points. Teleport players with the sheriff. We respond. Oh, what happened to the if statement? Oh, because that's teleporting them into the game. Now that stuff all works correctly. Don't need to worry about that. When teleport players, you see with innocent, we teleport the innocent in. And then when respond to lobbies received with the sheriff, murders, and innocents, sheriff doesn't equal empty, we respond the sheriff. Okay. Set eye length to lobby spawn count. Set imurd to murderers. Length of imurd greater than 0. Respawn, get item 0 from imurders. Get item eye length. Oh, shoot. I meant to set this to 0 to start. Okay. That makes sense. Eye length was supposed to start at 0, not. Oopsie. Okay, that should solve the bug. Clear and play. Let's head on in. Run up the stairs when you're ready.
Oh yeah.
Lakes added to queue. Running down the stairs. Oh man, your shoes are so cute. Oh, what are my
What
shoes?
do I have? I can't see my shoes.
Oh, you gotta see
Purple
them. They're
shoes.
so good. What shoes am I wearing? Am I wearing my classics? Can't tell.
Shoes am I wearing?
Oh yeah, mine are classic. But
Adorable.
man, yours are adorable. I love your shoes.
Show
Oh,
me
let me
my
take a
shoes.
picture. I'm gonna take a picture. You stand still.
Okay.
Stand still so I can take pictures. I'm like, and photo picture. Okay, and there you go. Take a look at those. Oh gosh!
Oh.
Don't walk into the weapons, or don't shoot anybody. Don't shoot anybody.
Hey,
We're-
up to.
Okay, you're the detective.
I found my photo. Oh no, I'm back.
Well, I think shoot her again. What happens? I think she got re-added to the game. I think like if you die early, you actually can get back in. Oh yeah, totally.
Actually, I kind of like that feature. Oh,
I
did
kind
it
of like
again.
that
I'm so
feature
sorry.
too. So I'm the murderer. Okay, but you guys are still in. So
That was really scary, actually.
and then the game's over. Nice. Okay, that was cool.
All right.
We're
done.
I can keep unaliving you.
Stop killing me. Stop killing me.
Well, the next game is going to start here in a few seconds, which is kind of hysterical. Did the game? Oh, why did I get teleported? I don't know. This doesn't have a return script on it, so it's just going to float here. Which is why I was going to. What the heck happened? Why did I guess I accidentally unalived myself. Next game is in 12, 10. So we weren't standing here. So it said game was in progress, but there wasn't a game in progress. So I do think we need something that says like something else. I don't know. I'm curious about
Loading
that.
new game, maybe? Or...
Oh, did we all die at the same time because she was holding the knife and we all got teleported through it?